Steve Jewin, MMA Mania.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
Hail to the king, baby. Kevin Casey, how are you doing today?
All right, excellent. Thanks for having me on, Steve.
It's good to talk to you. Hey, we've been knowing each other for a while now on Twitter, so I feel like this was bound to happen sooner or later. So it's good to finally get this chat.
Yes, sir.
And you've got a big fight coming up here with Keith Berry. I feel like there are a lot of good coincidences going into this fight, not the least of which is you were a member of Team Sonnen on The Ultimate Fighter, and you and he are fighting on the same card. How does that feel?
I mean, it feels great. I spent 7 weeks with Chael, and he was really hands-on and there every day and very supportive of me personally and all of the team. So to be fighting on the same card, I already reached out to him, and all the vibes are positive, and it's just exciting all the way around to see how big Bellator is promoting the fight, and it's at the Forum, and the energy's there. The card is stacked. You got the Paul Daly on the card. I mean, it's just it's amazing.
There's another good coincidence, too, it being at the Forum, because UFC 199, I'm sure you remember that. It might feel like a chance for you to go out there and get redemption in Inglewood.
You know what? Anytime I can fight in Inglewood, it's an honor. I'm born in Inglewood, and I grew up in the apartment building that's like literally across the street from the Forum. I remember meeting some of the basketball players from the Lakers because they used to go to the gas station that was right there, and just being a kid, I went to the elementary school that was directly across the street. So it's just a feeling of just everything coming full circle. And the last time I fought there, I was under tremendous pressure, and I felt that I won the fight. They call it a draw, so it definitely left me with a little bit of a feeling of being unsatisfied. But I'm back, and it's Bellator 170, and King's in the building, and I'm gonna make it known.
And this opponent that you've got, KO Kid is his nickname, but it seems like he's been taking more of the KOs than given him of lately. He hasn't won in his last 4, so what do you make of Keith Berry as an opponent?
I look at Keith Berry as someone who's very dangerous. He's a guy who has, I think, upwards of 30 fights. He has a lot of experience. He's obviously taken time off and chosen to make himself evolve. Otherwise, I don't think he would have come back to the sport. So you have someone who took a lot of time off, but that you can completely change who you are in that kind of time. So for me to look at what he previously did or where he previously came from would be just a bad move for me. And I've been in the sport long enough to know that you can change within 2 camps. So he's had enough time to have 4 or 5. So I imagine myself to be fighting the best Keith Berry and the strongest Keith Berry, and he'll be facing the strongest Kevin Casey.
Yeah, and definitely he's got to be hungry after 2 years off. You got to figure he's coming in there looking, not that he knows that he can overlook you, but he's feeling the same way you are, like he wants to go out there and prove something.
Definitely. I think when they tell you you're going to fight me, then you wouldn't get in that cage unless you really feel like you have an opportunity to win, because no one wants to go out there and get embarrassed. So he feels good, he feels strong, he's confident, and that's the way I like it.
This fight being in the preliminary portion, obviously it'll be a featured fight on Spike.com. Where do you think this puts you in the division in terms of getting a big win if it gets bonused on TV?
I'll leave that up to the promoters. I have a tall mountain to climb in this middleweight division over here. A lot of names. It's a very respected division. This 185 in Bellator. You have a lot of guys who have a lot of experience, and it's just tough. So I see that, I feel that I match up well with anyone in the division, and whatever they want to throw me. I mean, I don't have any names that I could say. I'm not looking past this fight, but I'm looking to put Keith away and just off to the races. We're going. I want the belt.
Well, they've got a champion who's been inactive for a little while, and I just spoke to one of his potential opponents the other day who said, it's about time for Rafael Cavallo to come back and defend that belt, and if not, maybe it should go to somebody else.
Yeah, I haven't been with Bellator enough to know all the details of who's been fighting who and who's next in line and things of that nature. So I'm focused on Keith Berry, and that's it. January 21st, that's what I'm all about right now.
Have you looked at any tape on Keith Barry? I mean, it seems like you've got him pretty well scouted already based on what you've said, that you've known that he's been off for a couple of years and may have completely changed his style, but you could still go back and look at tape to see what his old style was like.
Yeah, I've watched him. I've done some scouting on Keith, and he looks tough. You know, I see a lot of holes in his game, some areas where I plan to exploit. And at this point, I really feel like it's more about my preparation. It's more about how I feel and everything I've done and the work that I've put in, because I'm going to go out there and impose my will, and it's going to be his job to try to stop it.
Being that you're both from California, but you are from Inglewood, you've got to feel like you're going to get the bigger reaction. You're going to get that same reaction like you got when you came out for UFC 199.
100%. I'm well represented here, and there will be a lot of people in the arena that will have their energy in unison with mine. And it's my time. You know, I've invested a lot of time and energy in the fight game. I've been doing this for since 2010, and I think that now everything is really melting together. I worked with Taylor Ramsdale for my strength and conditioning, and he's phenomenal. He's really just broken my whole body down, and we rebuilt it up from scratch. There was a transitional period where I wasn't exactly sure where my next home was going to be, and he kept me focused. He kept me on the grind. He kept me hungry, and I just feel physically amazing. The best shape of my life.
Now, you talked about how long you've been in the game, and that's one of the things that I find personally fascinating when I go back and look over your record, because I feel like I've seen you fight just about everywhere. Seen you in Strikeforce, seen you in UFC, and now I'm seeing you with Bellator. So when you look back at your history, how do these compare? How do these stack up next to each other?
It just overall gives me that experience. I fought in some big fights and been in there with some big names, and I'm very comfortable and I'm very confident with where I sit as far as on the planet of being a mixed martial artist. You know, I've trained with the Anderson Silvas, the Lyoto Machidas, the Gracies, and I just feel very confident in my skill and my ability. But more than anything, with so many different arts and so many different aspects and variations that go along with mixed martial arts, it takes time for all of those things to gel and for you to go out there and make it all work. So you can be an excellent grappler, and then you're starting to work your striking, and then you're trying to find a way to bring those fundamentals together. And I just feel like, you know, for me being 35 years old, and I'm really just now feeling excellent with all those various aspects of fighting.
Well, you also mentioned being 35. That was a question I was going to ask because, you know, in the mid-30s, that's when guys start to peak, but that's also when guys start to think about retiring. How much longer do you think you can do this?
It's more about the training camps. I feel like I'm getting through these training camps, and I'm getting stronger every week. I'm still evolving. I don't have a lot of fight miles on my body. You know, I've never had an amateur fight career. My first fight, I was 27 years old, so I got a little bit of a late start, but at the same time, that means that I don't have so many tough camps. I don't have a lot of wars under my belt. My style isn't the kind of, you know, Vanderlei style where I'm going in there and I'm trying to just bang and damaging my body. So I feel that I'm continuing to get stronger. So I'm not going to put a limit or a time frame on what I can do. I feel that I'm the best ever at this point.
Now, you've talked about your strength and how it's coming along with each camp and the strength and conditioning you've done preparing for this fight. Who else has been really instrumental in shaping you into the best King Casey that you're going to be on January 21st?
The Gracie family has always been my foundation. You know, I train a lot with Hero Gracie, and I mean, he's just a world-class, excellent jiu-jitsu coach as well as a, you know, just competitor himself. And I got an opportunity to train some with Cone Gracie for this camp, and I trained with Holly Gracie. You know, with my striking, I worked with Anthony Hardonk, who's out of Dynamics MMA, and he has the Dutch kickboxing style, which I started with him maybe, I think, 2 or 3 camps ago, and the stuff that he's showing is such high level. The technique is so high level that I almost feel that I rushed taking fights too soon before I had an opportunity to really gel with the system. So, I came to him 8 weeks before I was fighting at UFC 199 and asked him to be in my corner. So, I put him in a situation where I just didn't give him enough time and myself enough time to really gel with the system. But at this point, I feel very comfortable with the game plan and the things that we're trying to implement out there, and it just overall feels good. Kenny Johnson has been a guy that's been in my corner, and with the wrestling, the boat wrestling, and my wrestling has just made leaps and bounds within the last few years, and I feel really, really comfortable and confident there. Kenny will be in my corner for the fight, and I just overall feel great.
I said there were some good coincidences about this fight, and another one was that you mentioned working with the Gracies and that you've done some rolling with Hollick Gracie. And Hollick's on this card too, fighting Isaki Kato. So what do you think about that fight?
Hollick's a dangerous guy. He definitely has the tools and the desire to go out there and get the W. And I think Kato is at a disadvantage when it comes to the style of fight that Hollick's going to bring to him. So I'm looking for the W by submission or ground and pound.
That's a very real possibility, but he's been out even longer than Keith Berry. He's been doing the Metamoris thing, so we haven't seen Hollick take an actual MMA fight in almost 7 years.
Yeah, but if we're talking about a guy who's been a lifelong grappler, he's been doing this since he's been a baby. So the grappling is second nature. And, I don't think that Hollick will go out there and try to make it a striking match at all.
No. And it's like they say, the Gracies are born with it in their blood. So he's got a natural instinct just by having that last name.
Definitely.
And I think we could say the same for you. You've got a natural instinct for fighting. That's why you've been in the game for so many years. And we're looking forward to a great performance here at Bellator 170. But before I wrap it up, I want to say everybody should be following you on Twitter like I am if they're not, and give you this chance to plug that and plug anything else.
Yeah, let's plug it. King Kevin Casey on the Instagram, King Kevin Casey on the Twitter, Kevin Casey on the Facebook. Follow me. Let's give a shout out to Acai World and Downey, supporting me with the supplements and everything I need, Fairtex, just overall the whole camp, Gracie family, Kenny Johnson, Boat Wrestling, Anthony Hardog, Dynamics, Black House MMA. Let's do it.
All right. King Kevin Casey fighting Keith Berry, one of the featured fights at Bellator 170 at the Forum in Inglewood, California. Don't miss the fights. Be there live if you can. If not, make sure you tune in on Spike TV and Spike.com. Casey, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad we finally got to talk.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to many more.
You bet. And Dan, thank you as well.